Part 68. After my death, the villain blackened again. Author, Ben Gong Wei Pang. Chapter 677. The ministers speculated that I definitely knew a little bit about this, but no one dared to come forward and ask. It was thought that the emperor would talk about it in the early dynasties. What everyone did not expect was that the emperor did not mention anything about this matter. Only in the end, he asked the prime minister to invite the prime minister to the hall of Qinzhen Hall. The hearts of all the people were worried. The emperor and the king did not personally summon the emperor, but only met the prime minister, and did not know what the situation was. When Nalan Mo arrived at Qinzhen Hall, the emperor was sitting opposite Su Fang and having breakfast. Even when he came, the father-in-law Qin immediately stepped forward to put on a pair of extra bowls of chopsticks and said to him, "Be careful, come here and have breakfast together." Su Fang glanced at Nalan Mo obliquely, and his nostrils hummed toward the heavens and the earth, and then put a bun for the words, "Your Majesty, eat more." Then he waved to Nalan Mo again, "Master, let's eat together. The breakfast in the palace is very good. Your Majesty is magnificent. You have a good mouth." The diligent greetings looked as if the palace was his house. Nalan Mo salutes Yanj, and then sits in the lower left position of Yanj. Yanj asked him, "Why is Shenji's face so pale, but sick again?" Nalan Mo shook his head. Su Fang, on the side, did not like the emperor to be close to Nalan Mo. Now that the emperor has become his woman, he can hardly see the emperor caring about Nalan Mo. Before Nalan Mo answered, Su Fang rushed to answer, "Your Majesty, do nt worry, Jing Erlang now considers white to be beautiful. Many Erlangs are even wiping their fats and powders to make them whiter, and adult Su also rubbed the powder." Nalan Mo looked up and glanced at Su Fang gently. General Su is far from Xining, and even Jingzhong Erlang likes everything, but he is very interested in the matter of Beijing. This means something, but it's hard to think about it anymore. Su Fang was immediately provoked by Nalan Mo's nasty words. Who cares more about Beijing's affairs? Yan Ji frowned, "Do you still need breakfast?" Su Fang, you shut up. After breakfast was finished, Yan Ji led the two to the hall of Qinzhen Hall, took out the map of the border, and asked Su Fang, "Let you go to Xining to raise horses. How about the yellow-bred horse?" When I saw Yan's serious tone, I didn't dare to fight, haha, and I was busy telling about the horse farms in Xining. "I want to send troops to the Chuklan." Yan Ji pointed to several places on the map and asked Su Fang, "Xining is not far from these places. Have you been there?" Su Fang nodded immediately, "I have made several laps in this place." Although he was assigned to Xining, he took the opportunity to shake the border all around. Nalan Mo saw the emperor calmly analyzed the cities on the map, and asked Su Fang about the border customs. The map was densely packed with the emperor's handwriting notes. He was a smart man and knew immediately that the emperor was about to start the army. The matter is not a whim, it is clearly a long planned. Nalan Mo slumped slightly, reminding the emperor, "His Majesty, war requires silver and labor and money are hurt. I have laid off most of the people in the palace a few days ago. Haven't I started a large workshop together with the dignitaries? The embroidery workshop made money, and I embezzled it first. Naran Mo. The palace lays off people, and because those eunuchs and palace ladies who have been laid off may have nowhere to go, the emperor took the lead to raise funds and opened a large embroidery workshop. After my death, the villain blackened again." Author, Ben Gong Wei Pang. Chapter 678. The emperor took the lead in the embroidery workshop, and surely made steady profits without any loss. Almost every one of the courtiers had a share in the applause of the Shangshu. Even the Nalan family, where Nalan Mo is located, has joined a large group, and now it is better. The emperor is a misappropriation in the name. It is clear that meat buns and dogs will never return. Nalan Mo devoted himself to the emperor's step-by-step brains and devoted himself to the 5 bodies. Yan Ji had been discussing with himself one article at a time for one afternoon before letting them go home. She had never thought of sending Su Fang to the border to participate in the war, but after an afternoon discussion, she found that Su Fang really knew this area quite well. She decided decisively that this time, Su Fang would follow suit. Of course, the main thing is to move this guy away. The identity of her woman never intended to be exposed, and Su Fang's uncertain factor was completely unexpected. The most important thing is that Su Fang's old lover in her body didn't know what was going on. Su put it in Beijing, like a time bomb. She still assigned this guy far away, out of sight. Indeed, as the words suggest, Su Fang's old lover is a time bomb. The song of the evening had just rested, and the father-in-law of Qin Gong gently gazed at the door. "Your Majesty, General Su is waiting outside the palace," saying that he remembered a very important thing to report to His Majesty, and there was no time delay. Su Fang was so bold that he did not dare to break into the palace door with this excuse. Yan Ji sat up with an excitement. I knew immediately that it was her old lover who came. Who is this guy? Holding back her anxiety, she said to the father-in-law Qin, "Someone will come in." As soon as he entered, he rushed to the bed of Yanj like a wolf. His eyes were cold and cold, unlike Su Fang. Yanj pushed him. "What's important?" The man was very skillful in interpreting the lining of Yanj. While kissing the scattered hair of Yanj's hair, he answered, "I want to sleep with you." Yan Ji held his face with both hands, trying to stop him. "Why are you in Su Fang's body? You can't control this body all the time." "No, speaking of this," his voice was a little grieved, "I can only control the body after he has fallen asleep. As soon as this guy wakes up, I can't control it." After a pause, he said, "The next time he wants to sleep with you, you kick him away. That's not me." Obviously a body, but also irritation. This old lover looks a little careful. Yanj's heart became more solemn. He ignored her protest, and ran his fingers around her body. After making her bath in the fire, he swiftly attacked the city strategy pool, holding her body and murmuring, "Ayan, you are so good." Yan Ji was excited. How many old lovers called her Ayan? My head was empty and I couldn't remember one. Yan Ji can only ask for chickens, and the chickens are impatient. "You have blocked me at critical moments. Now you ask me again, do you think I know?" The chicks are upset. The critical moments are all mosaics, and its eyes are almost blinded by staring at these dazzling mosaics. It feels that there is no more beast in the world than it is. Sing silently. Millions of years, not to mention the countless men who have slept, just sleeping one, who can still remember the time of millions of years. She has lived so long and has dementia memory loss, which is normal. I can't remember my old lover, it doesn't seem to be a shame. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After my death, the villain blackened again. Author, Ben Gong Weipang. Chapter 679. Yan Ji was doing his ideological work in his heart, but he didn't dare to ask who the man was. She put his arms around his neck and allowed him to please himself. When he finally retired and lay down in the bed with him, he was curious and asked him, "How did you find me?" Although she thinks this guy may admit the wrong person, but he called her a word, presumably the chance of admitting the wrong person is not very high. He pressed her cheek against her face, like a lame beast, and his voice was lazy, "A guess." If Yanj could guess, he wouldn't ask him. She was fed by this guy, and thinking about so many times, the chance of pregnancy must be greater, so she is in a good mood. Ignoring this guy's detour, she poked his waist with his fingers. "I can't guess, you come on." The man laughed happily, holding Yanj in his arms and touching him. He really played Yanj as a pet, and still couldn't play it anyway. He held Yanj on himself, made Yanj lie on his skin, kissed the tip of his nose, and said, "Of course it is because of Yan, because Yan is too smart." He frowned and wanted to keep talking, and suddenly his eyes closed and he fell asleep. The next moment, Su Fang opened his eyes and rubbed his eyes to get up. He was about to go to the clean room. The bed was not his bed, and there was a woman on it. He sat up and stared in surprise. He looked down at the bodies of the two who couldn't catch the silk. The next moment I hugged Yanj and lay back on the bed. Yanj reached out and twisted his cheeks, and asked, "What's wrong?" "Su Fang, I always feel like I'm dreaming. I've been so brave lately. I ran to the royal palace in the middle of the night to ask His Majesty to be fortunate." "Your Majesty, do you think I'm dead?" Without waiting for the words to respond, he closed his eyes and said to himself, "Your Majesty, you should not be willing to kill me." He hugged Yanj tightly and said, "No matter what, under the peony flowers, it's okay to be a ghost, not to mention His Majesty, even if he is killed by His Majesty, I have no regrets in this life." Yan Ji looked at his determined eyebrows and pursed his lips without talking. This man named Su Fang has always been in her eyes a little fart child who relies on a small mustache to seek attention, but now, suddenly, it feels that this little fart child has shaved his beard as if he has grown up and has become a handsome man who is heroic. She bowed her head slightly and kissed his lips. "As long as you obediently, I won't kill you." Su Fang grinned and grinned with white teeth, and smiled brilliantly, "I will be very good. I will be the most loyal and well-behaved general at hand during the day, and warm my bed under the bed at night." He got up, went to the clean room, and when Yanj slept in his arm, he stared at Yanj with his head in one hand. The emperor became his own daughter-in-law, and it wasn't enough to look at it. He gently touched her thick eyelashes with her fingers, her frizzy hair, and the chin of the corners of her lips, lingering and rejoicing. Really, dreaming is the same. Nailan Mo hasn't heard from her for a long time. He has been restraining himself, always deceiving himself, trying to forget her. You can forget what you want, but it's all her. He returned the return to the garden to the emperor, and cheekily asked the emperor for a second one. After my death, the villain blackened again. Author, Ben Gong Wei Pang. Chapter 680. But the emperor did not give Lan Mo the second part of the book. Be careful, the last time the doctor said that you have a bad bone, you can't think too much about it, such a book is not suitable for you to read, wait for your body to be good, I'll lend you the others. Nailan Mo, there was a book in my hand that I could see, but now it's all gone. He glared at the unspeakable emperor. He really gritted his teeth and couldn't wait to slap the guy. Fortunately, this kind of hands-on behavior is not his style. Your Majesty just looked at the words in this book very well. Recently in Lintung, I did not worry about it. Your Majesty borrowed the other books from the minister. Otherwise, I would really worry too much. The emperor laughed, got up and patted him on the shoulder. His tone must be careful, you must have a man. Without waiting for his refutation, the emperor said, which girl is so fortunate to be taken seriously by Shen? Be careful, you can help me marry you. Your marriage to Su Fang is the thing you remember most. Child. At the words of the emperor's heart, Nailan Mo's heart suddenly felt unpleasant. Although the forces of all sides are competing, the emperor pays attention to the balance of the way, but also treats him well because he is a member of the Nailan family and a prime minister. But he knew very well that the emperor was really good to him. He slept with the woman the emperor was thinking about, and still missed the woman. If the emperor knew it, he might not treat him, but he would kill her. Your Majesty, he sighed. Nothing, he just likes that calligraphy. Yanj smiled and asked him, don't like the illustrations inside? Painting is also good, but Chen has little research on figure painting and is not interested. Let's borrow you when you are better. Yan Ji didn't let up. She really didn't want to talk to this guy. A Su Fang could let her work hard. As far as the words are concerned, they have already reached the court. The courage that Narenmo finally managed to summon away. On the skin, he really is not as thick as Su Fang. In the past few days, because of the war at the border, the court was noisy and lively. After all, the silver was gathered from the pockets of the ministers, which caused them more pain than the money from the treasury. However, this matter, Yan Ji will not do it. Since it started, I never thought of compromise with the ministers. During this period, Su Fang spent almost nights in Yan's palace. Of course, most of those who dared to break into the palace in the middle of the night were her old lover. At the time that Su Fang interrupted the matter, when Yanj asked again, the old lover said briefly to Yanj, "It was something you gave me. Did you forget it?" Words of song. Rub, she gave away such an important thing? And I gave it to someone I can't even imagine. I can't forgive myself at all. Yan Song really forgot. Even the chicks don't believe that a miser like Yanj will be someone who pleases his old lover with his own things. There are 10,000 grass and mud horses flying in Yanj's heart, but what can she do? Because of her spirit of self-denial, she didn't even dare to talk with the chickens about her mental retardation. Well, for the first time, she discovered that she was a very problematic tree. Men sing songs every day, their faces are full of happiness. After my death, the villain blackened again. Author, Ben Gong Wei Pang. Chapter 681. Every time Yan Ji saw his little star-like look, he had the illusion of being covered with hair. What exactly is this guy? If she asked it directly, would he explode? Yanj can tolerate, she resisted. At the Tangram festival, men happily pulled the song to go out of the palace. The customs here are very special. I heard that on the day of the Tangram festival, there are some men and women on the street. What else can I pray for? As for the lamp, you have been locked in this huge palace every day, and you have never gone out to see it? It was about letting her go out to see, but Song looked at the little excited look of this guy, and it was him who wanted to see something clearly. Anyway, the army will set off in a few days. After all, it is his old lover. With a little wish, the words can fully satisfy him. At his request, she wore a big red dress. For the first time, she did not wear a veil, and even Fixianu on his head helped him comb it. This man has good bed technology, and the technology under the bed is not bad. With this ability to comb her hair, she can be the combing her hair. No wonder she used to give him something. It turned out that this guy would vote for her. The two people took a horse-drawn carriage directly out of the east gate, went to the general's mansion halfway, and went around a few times outside. This only appeared on the busiest Yahua street. Good-looking men and women are noticeable everywhere. Neither of them paid attention to the glances cast around them. After guessing the lantern riddle, I bought the mask of the cowherd and weaver girl, went to the food stand, took off the mask together, and ate the hot soup on the stall. Although the people in the lower world are a little weaker, they are quite happy, and the naivete of living is probably the kind of people. Yan Ji heard him sigh like this, and his brain began to search for data at a high speed. Saying that this world is a lower world, where does he come from? The end of the high-tech world? Or the high-level world of the immortal world? Does she look good in this kind of place? My brain turned sore and I didn't think of one or two or three. Yanj sighed, "Do you like it here?" The man turned his head, like. There were lanterns everywhere on the street. She had a beautiful and beautiful face. Because the eyes were so brilliant, she became even more beautiful. She wiped the food stains on her lips with a handkerchief. He stared at her softly. He said, "Where you are, I like it everywhere, I like it." People were coming and going around, the hustle and bustle, countless lights came, but there was only one her in his eyes. Words of song, her heart beats so fast that her chest is bursting. Is this a girl's heart bursting? She smiled and wanted to speak, but could not say anything. Suddenly I thought that this man could say such a delightful love story and give him something like that, as if she could do it. After all, beauty is wrong. Even now, she is a little fluttered by his love words. A cold voice pulled back the thoughts of Yanj, General Su. The song was a little stunned. This is Nalen Mo's voice. This guy, obviously a single, what do you do in a place where lovers are everywhere? Yanj's weaver mask was on the table. She subconsciously wanted to put it on, but as far as she could see, she had already seen Nalen Mo's shoes. This guy, I do not know when he came, maybe I should hide in the corner and watch for a long time. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After my death, the villain blackened again. Author, Ben Gong Weipang. Chapter 682. Yanj didn't move, or Su Fang seemed to notice the nervousness of Yanj, reached out and held her hand, and smiled up at Nalen Mo. Master, how did this come out in the middle of the night? Right? Now, why aren't there any girls around you? If Su Fang provokes 10 sentences on weekdays, Nalen Mo would not necessarily reply. But now, Nalen Mo has no intention of forbearance. He glanced at the trace of the two peoples holding hands, sneered, and squinted. Su Fang, General Su was so interested, but he talked to me. Where did the girl from the scene come from? I will look for another one. The irony in this discourse speaks for itself. Neither Su Fang nor this man in Su Fang's body is a bad temper. Su Fang immediately got up and grabbed Nalen Mo's clothes with one hand. Nalen Mo, right, are you looking for death? Words of song. Every article and every martial art is her humoral minister. She, the emperor of the typing world, wants to last for a long time, and can't kill each other. Yanj immediately got up and shouted, Su Fang, let go. Su Fang turned his head and was extremely dissatisfied with the words, he insults you. Yan Ji slowed down his voice, he is the prime minister of a country. Nothing can happen. Even if he dies, it should be his death. You must not treat him like this. After a pause, he said, the prime minister is too weak to be frightened. Let go. Su Fang was suffocated, but in the voice of Yan Ji, although he was reluctant, he let Nalen Mo away. He was so strong that holding Nalen Mo's clothes almost lifted the person off the ground, which was equivalent to holding Lan Mo's neck. With this release, Nalen Mo almost did not fall. Yanj hurried forward to help him. Nalen Mo pushed her away with his backhand, and the back of Wolverine took 2 steps to stabilize her body, and she bent and coughed fiercely. Su Fang sneered, look at you like a sick seedling, but it's just like you're going to die if you touch it. No wonder no girl is with you on these days. This diseased seedling is still a national treasure now. It must have 3 strengths and 2 weaknesses. The family and the upstarts can't maintain a balance at all. The main thing is that Su Fang's words are really stamped on Nalen Mo's weakness. Yan Ji immediately turned his head and glared at him, shut up. Su Fang flattened his mouth with great grievances, but in the end, he still thought that the many chores of the Emperor Yanj were handled by the Prime Minister. If this guy was killed, his wife would have to be busy, so although he didn't get used to Nalen Mo, he obeyed the words and did not continue to ridicule this guy. In a few steps, Yan Ji went to Nalen Mo's side again, and when asked, where are you going? Don't you care? Nalen Mo suddenly raised his head and gave a cold glance at Yan Ji, holding back his undulating chest and turning away. Yan Ji watched until he took a few steps, and a follower followed him, which relieved him. Su Fang confessed behind Yanj, Yan, I was wrong. Yan Ji turned his head and glared at him, what's wrong with you? My body knows nothing about martial arts. In the future, I will learn more about the affairs of the world, and when I am qualified for the position of Prime Minister, I will kill this guy. It is my fault. I can't breathe anymore and I'm so annoyed by this guy. Will you replace the Emperor's position by the way? Su Fang seriously considered these moments. If you feel tired to be Emperor, I can help you be Emperor. After my death, the villain blackened again. Author, Ben Gong Wei Pang. Chapter 683. Words of Song. She has nothing to say about this guy's 3 views. She felt it necessary to be on guard, and she was afraid that this guy would be usurped if he didn't agree. However, this episode does not affect the interest of the two at all. Of course, mainly the interest of Su Fang was not affected. With interest, he led Yanj to put countless lanterns, and was infected by his joy, and Yanj gradually integrated into the joyful atmosphere around him. When the lantern was finished, it was already late at night. Su Fang was afraid of tired words and carried her on her body, walking slowly towards the palace. Yan Ji's fingers played with his hair and asked him softly, "How long will you stay in Su Fang's body?" "I will try to stay with you," he said, "to accompany you through this world." Yanj was curious, "Why is it as far as possible? Are there any other factors interfering?" "There are other factors, of course." But he couldn't say it. He didn't want to talk about the guy anymore. Therefore, when he heard the words, he avoided the weight and returned lightly, "I'm not in this world. The soul and this body are more or less exclusive. Maybe one day, I will be kicked out of this body." Without waiting for the song to respond, he said, "Ian, don't worry, I will find you no matter what time I am, where you are, I am there." This response made the words inexplicably creepy. She does like the beautiful puppet, but she doesn't like being chased by people everywhere. However, before she spoke, Su Fang continued to say, "If I am gone, you should be with Su Fang." Although Su Fang is a military general, he is good. "Nalan Mo, you must not approach he, that little white face is not a good thing at first sight." Words of Song. Regardless of the real Su Fang or the fake Su Fang, it seems that he does not like Nalan Mo. Yan Song silently lit a candle for Nalan more. Su Fang sighed again, Yan, I really want to be with you all the time." The words broke out and asked him, "What is your body?" "It's not a tree." Su Fang stunned, "Magic." Song, oh. Is her old lover a demon? OMG. Mother, she has such a heavy taste that she dared to walk with the demon, and gave the devil such a big handle to find her. He asked her, "How about you?" Yan Song thought about it and whispered, "Tree." The man sincerely praised, "It must be a very beautiful tree." In the past, she was indeed very beautiful. Her green hair was thick and lush, and she was a tyrant tree that could win the world. But now, thinking of my bald head and the few green hairs on my head, suddenly I was a little bit cautious. I don't want to continue this topic at all. Yanj, will you lead the soldiers to fight? At that time, Su Fang went to the border. Will your presence at a critical moment drag him back? The man seriously considered the question. I can't take control of his body. After a pause, he said, Ian, must Su Fang go? Yan Ji nodded his head. He is going to be General Genies, and now he is a pillar in their house, and he has to go back alive. She added, you will be with him and you will be back then. I will wait for you. The man was silent for a moment. Yanj squeezed his ears and lay on his ears and sighed, I'm not tired, let me go down for a while. After my death, the villain blackened again. Author, Ben Gong Wei Pang. Chapter 684. When the man heard the words, he suddenly smiled lowly. He tilted his head and kissed his cheek, I won't feel tired after carrying you all my life. In this love, her bones were soft. Yanj is silent, which old lover is this demon? Hemp eggs, this kind of memory loss in the elderly, caused her internal injuries. Ian, why don't you stop talking? Because suddenly I don't know what to say. Yan's head scratched his back. I will be very tired to carry my whole life. The man smiled lowly. Remember Ian, for a lifetime, he will never be tired. Chicken, hey, unfortunately he is not a tree. The magic thing is the most dangerous, it is just a time bomb. Maybe it will explode in place. Wood, you can take it easy. Jue, this kind of man is quite boneless. At first glance, he's just playing tricks. The song no longer spoke. She rested her head on the man's shoulder and fell asleep in his slow steps. Because the demon is a bomb that can easily get out of control, Yan Ji also gave up explaining the truth with him. On the night of the Tangram, Yan Ji was tossed by men for most of the night. Every time this guy was stunned when she was drowsy, she couldn't help herself, and she would go to the morning tomorrow. She begged him softly, Su Fang, don't toss me anymore. He bowed his head, biting her ear beads, and took a warm breath into her body. He said in a low voice, call me Ah Chen, I am not Su Fang. Yan Ji's mind was agitated and immediately called the cock. Do I have an old lover named Ah Chen? This guy is still a demon. Chicken, I don't know, it's not my lover, I don't remember that much. Yanj gritted his teeth. But she was too lazy to think about it. She wrapped his neck around and shouted at him, Akin, I have to go early tomorrow. Chen, I'll go for you. Yanj, the emperor can't do it for anyone who wants to do it. I want to be an emperor in my life in this world. Ah Chen, don't go early. Words of song. After being tossed all night, she failed to go to the early morning. The ministers looked at each other inside the Golden Hall. The Prime Minister complained that the sick leave had not come, and the Emperor had not come. This early dynasty, can it continue? Soon Qin father-in-law came to announce that the Emperor's body was embracing, which was waived early today. Although Nalan Mo was in the house, it was the first time he learned that the Emperor did not go to the early dynasty. Suddenly he couldn't help but think about this matter. I don't know if there is any relationship with the woman. Emperor, do you know about that woman and Su Fang? The battle is imminent. If the Emperor knew about it, he would wait for Su Fang to calmly hold it, and then hold the pot of this matter on her head. In his heart, suddenly he was extremely worried. Will she be in the palace? Because of this idea, Nalan Mo, who was infected with the chills during the Qigong festival, could not rest in bed. He asked his confidant to send her a letter asking if she needed help. This letter did not respond for a long time, and his heart became even more frightened. He ignored the illness and went to the palace to see the emperor, and explored the tone with the emperor first. The emperor was not in the palace. The first expedition by General Genese, the emperor gave his sweat to General Genese, and the monarch and his son went to the race course outside the capital together. All gave the sweaty BMW to Su Fang. Didn't the emperor even notice what happened between Su Fang and her last night? You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After my death, the villain blackened again. Author, Ben Gong Wei Pang. Chapter 685. Nalan Mo sighed with relief. However, after the whole person relaxed, he suddenly found his own ridiculous. The emperor was really in a hurry. Even she was fearless, why was he intimidated? And when did he become so timid and afraid? Obviously, this is her fault. The woman was so brave that she played with the emperor and died 10 or 8 times. Nalan Mo felt that when she met this woman named Guan Yu, all her intellect seemed to be scum. He did not leave the palace immediately, but went to the east gate. Knowing that he could not enter the harem, nor was she sitting in the palace where he should step in, but he stood outside the east gate and stared at the closed palace gate for a long time. What is she doing? What happened between her and Su Fang? Does she no longer like him? No, no, she said, she just wanted to use him. So now, in her eyes, does he even lose the value of utilization? A gust of wind blew, only feeling cold all over his body, his hands slightly covering his mouth, coughing a few times. Xiaoi rushed to put Dai on his body. Master, go back. He nodded slightly, suddenly frustrated. It was no wonder that his body was so weak, she would give him up. Nalan Mo's disease has been lingering for more than half a month. Yan Ji sent Su Fang and his army away, so he went to the Prime Minister's mansion as the emperor. Be careful, you have to take care of the disease. When you want to see a few, I'll give you a few. The waiters around didn't understand the meaning, but Nalan Mo knew it. Then she returned to the garden. Even though she had given up on him, he still wanted to see the follow-up to Back to Garden. The chicken sighed, Would, you give yourself a green hat, you wear 2 or 3 tops, you are not afraid to peddle so many boats, which day will it overturn? Yan Ji also sighed, Afraid, I'm scared, but what can I do? You say, my grand emperor can't be a chastity martyr? Can I kill Su Fang? Or can I Naran Mo killed? Can't kill, even her old lover, she never thought about killing. Male and female love, since you can't escape, let yourself relax and enjoy. You can't be an emperor and you must set up a chastity steel. In fact, from the perspective of Yan Ji, these ships were all overturned, and each one ran out of her control, but what can be done? You must continue to watch the scenery when it overturns. After Nalan Mo's health improved, he devoted himself completely to the work of his prime minister, trying to paralyze himself with his busy life. But the busier and quieter at night, the more clearly her people will appear in front of her eyes. Probably aware that he had a problem, Nalan's family turned to find a lot of different women for him. He also tried to accept. But those women, he just couldn't stand the smell of them. On her body, there is always a light ink fragrance. What's more, when she was in front of him, when the women saw him, all of them saw him shrink into a quail, and when they were reprimanded by him, they knelt down shivering. Nothing interesting. Yeah, it's so boring. He suddenly felt that even a life like his own had no meaning. Words of song, I'm proud to be able to capsize the boat, and I'm not afraid of it overturning, let alone the boat. After my death, the villain blackened again. Author, Ben Gongwei Pang. Chapter 686. Yanj knew Naranmo's heart. People like creatures may not be thinking so much, but if they are not available, they will keep thinking about it. For the same thing, for human beings, the loss of suffering is far greater than the happiness obtained. She didn't want to appease Nalanmo again as a woman. There is no extra thought to soothe. She is pregnant. The woman she had been hiding in the harem was therefore suddenly named Zhao Yi, and she even gave a Kwei hall closest to Qinzhen Hall for Guanzaiyi's residence. The emperor did not have any woman without a woman. As soon as there was a woman, the woman became pregnant. The ministers were taken aback, but wanted to send someone to inquire about the so-called Guanzaiyi. It is a pity that the emperor is inside and outside the palace of Emperor Kwei, let alone inquire about Guanzaiyi's background. Their people can't even see Guanzaiyi's face. Only Nalan Mo was sick for a few more days when he heard the news. Guanzaiyi, this must be her. She was born in a bad palace and entered the palace like that. Once her status and what she had done were known by the courtiers, even if she had a dragon son, she would be attacked by courtiers. But the emperor protected her extremely well. When Nalan Mo was lying on the hospital bed and staring at the tent on the bed top, she suddenly thought that she finally got what she wanted. Now the emperor treats her very well, presumably her life should be good. Is she satisfied? Who is the child in her belly? He wanted to let go, but the thought lingered in his mind, making him unable to calmly think about other things. The emperor came to see him again. Looking at the spring emperor and the apparently blessed emperor, Nalan Mo's phrase "Your Majesty should stand up" did not finally speak. If she wants to be a queen, he will help her in the future. Be careful, it's time for a woman to be with you. A man with a woman has everything to do, and you won't be so lazy by then. He listened to the emperor's words, and he became increasingly sad. What if the child was his, and the emperor knew in the future? Such an unknown worry finally gave him motivation again. Nalan Mo, who had been lying on the sickbed for more than a month, was cheered up again, and became the former awesome superhero. He tried to send her a letter and wanted to see her. But those believers were sinking in the sea, and she responded to him with a little decorative dagger. He put the little decorative dagger in his palm, and his gaze changed from no surprise to surprise and no joy. He understood what she meant. Cut off the robe, and in this way she was talking about their current relationship. She didn't even want to see him again. He can figure it out. She was anxious to be the queen, she didn't want to see him, she didn't want to get off the mark. But the more I figured it out, the more impatient I became. She didn't even see him. Is it true that the child in her belly is his? The more she disappeared, the more intense Nalan Mo's idea was. On August 15, a dinner was held in the palace in the backyard of Kinzen Palace. In Nalan Mo's view, this was a good opportunity to meet her. She did not appear at the banquet, and the emperor blocked countless banquets for her because she needed to be recuperated. This is something he had expected. Halfway through the banquet, Nalan Mo took the opportunity to go to the clean room to the Kway hall next door.